What's the one with the four corners? Is that Four Corners? Have you heard
I
of that?
don't know. You're thinking of Tony Bill's Five Corners with John Turturro and the Dead Penguin.
That's what I was thinking of.
Criterion Laserdisc, I believe.
That's one of those movies that I was convinced I loved when I was young, and I'm very afraid to go back and watch it. I suspect it's not that great.
No one has talked about it in 30 years.
John, I mean, it's got Turturro and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Is she in it? Is that why I was so into that movie?
No. Is it Jennifer Jason Leigh?
I don't know. That's got to be more than just Turturro. Than me being like, I'm such a big Turturro fan.
Am I thinking of Five Corners?
I'm talking about Five Corners.
I only know it has a Criterion Laserdisc.
Isn't that Jodie Foster?
Oh, it's Tim Robbins and John Turturro. That's why I was into it.
And Jodie Foster, right?
Yeah. And Harvey Keitel. Looks like my life is a living hell.
What happened to the New York independent scene? You know?
Well, we were talking about this on the Quest for Fire podcast of like, it's easy to be like, things are different now, but every person who makes an independent movie in every film festival you go to, every single filmmaker you meet would love to make a Star Wars movie. You will not meet somebody who makes an independent film who is not really into the idea of becoming rich and famous from it. You know, it just like, I don't know if they don't exist anymore, or if just like the financial incentives are to show and program the movies who are going to be most financially viable. But it's gone. You just don't meet anybody who's like, you know, my dream is to be Tarkovsky, unless they're like, my dream is to be Tarkovsky and to make a fucking Halloween movie that's like Tarkovsky, you know?
Well, you'd have to be rich to be Tarkovsky. You'd have to just be born rich already. And then you're like, okay, now I can be Tarkovsky. Now I can, like, Quaron and that whole, with the Three Amigos, those guys are all rich, right? Their parents are all.
Who are the Three Amigos?
Landis?
No, Quaron and
those guys are
Revenant, Inarito, and then
yeah.
Guillermo del Toro. Like they're super rich, and then they, except for Guillermo del Toro,
yeah,
the other two guys are constantly doing homages to Tarkovsky.
The Tarkovsky Halloween sounds like A24's Endgame, honestly.
But it's awesome. When you were talking about the three guys being rich, I was like, what, the Safdie brothers and Ronnie Bronstein? Because those guys are rich too. And I feel like that's what passes for independent cinema now, is like, we'll make an Adam Sandler movie and then star in fucking HBO shows. You know?
Well,
like
you can't. I mean, the big thing is, like I said, what happened to the New York independent scene? But it's like, you have to be fucking rich to live in New York. You can't be Abel Ferrara living
or
in
John Laurie.
Yeah, living in the Lower East Side, making movies.
You can only pretend to be that kind of person, which is what the Safdies are. Is they're people who pretend like they're that, and like they're not, you know, incredibly well off.
And then the movie, because you can't make money in the movie industry unless you're very, very lucky. I mean, like, you have to be such a rare case of luck. So unless you do a Star Wars or you direct McDonald's commercials, car commercials, there's no. The LA and New York are too expensive.
Well, that's what's funny too, when you look at, like, you know, Clerks and She's Gotta Have It were these big hits. Clerk made like under $3 million, and She's Gotta Have It, like, I think got around $1 million. Like, those movies made nothing, and they were like, can you believe these incredible, gigantic super hits in their day, you know?
Well, this ties into Lisa, our
Yes.
movie, the movie of today, 1990, directed by Gary Sherman. Lisa is a movie that exists because of home video.
Look! I got it, come on!
What began as a teenage game became an obsession.
Hi, Guy. You don't remember who I am, do you?
I'm not sure.
You think about it, and I'll call you later.
No, wait.
And now it's about to turn deadly.
Hi, Judy. This is Richard. I'm in your apartment.
Hi, girls. You butt into my room whenever you want. I'm your mother. It's my right.
See, I can tell you have a beautiful mouth by the way you form your words.
Look, just don't let this guy know who you are, whatever you do.
Let's talk about where and when we get to meet.
I'll be wearing a sexy white dress.
The lady in white.
You are not leaving this room except for school. Do you understand me? No phone privileges, no nothing.
Hi, this is Richard.
Lisa.
Call the police.
You took out my phone.
Hi, this is Richard.
It got a theatrical release, but this era, this mini little boom of small films made very quickly, basically TV production level. They were profitable because of video and video stores
Yes.
and cable.
Absolutely.
And these ancillary markets basically made the movies profitable before they were released because they already had an order for
Yeah.
this many videotapes.
These
and
video
that,
stores just needed stuff on the shelves too. 1990 is sort of coming towards the end of that era, but in the 80s, they just needed things on the shelves, and they would put, whatever you had up on the shelf just to get their shelf spaces stocked with things. And so
Yes.
you could turn a profit, and exactly what you're saying with cable too, where selling to cable would be enough of the chunk of the budget to be meaningful. Now these there's just so many predatory streaming and cable and independent distributors. Like because I have to work in this world, I never want to badmouth it, but if people knew how little these companies that are independent distributors pay for movies, like whatever you're thinking of, it's less. Like, get closer to zero. And you're like, really? You got a movie distributed and they paid you $10,000 for it? And it's like, yes, that is the fucking reality of it, for a lot of these distributors. It just doesn't exist anymore. And that
Well, it
way,
just makes me
because-
wonder what content even means anymore. I mean, in the early 90s, obviously it meant you got to stock the shelves. You got to walk into a video store and have options, right?
Yeah.
Like, do streaming services need these options? Like, are you going to go onto a streaming service and be like, oh, there's not too much here. Guess I don't want this streaming service.
Well, but that's a lot of the tension where you have the new guy who's running HBO being like, why do we have all of this crap on here? We just got to focus on the movies that people watch. And there's been, these companies are, I don't want to get into all of the streaming stuff. These companies are falling apart too. All of these companies, we've talked about it, where everybody's idea was, we're going to be Amazon, we're going to be Walmart. And so we're going to operate in the red for years and years and years and put everybody out of business. And then we'll be the only game in town. It's the Walmart Amazon model for this stuff. And Netflix was doing that for a while, but then HBO Warner got the idea to do that. And then Amazon got the idea to do that. And they were all operating in the red. And when HBO was like, hold on, we're just bleeding money on this, we've got to stop, that shut off the faucets for everybody else, where it was clear no one was going to become that number one thing that nobody else has. And so they're all scrambling to figure out what the new business models are. But if you talk to people, as recently as 2 years ago, it was still, you could still get the ludicrous deals from Netflix. A friend of mine sold his movie to Netflix for $2 million and you have never heard of it, never seen it promoted, you're not even aware it's on there. And they paid $2 million for it on a budget of, I think, like 700,000. I can't remember what the movie was, but that's immensely profitable for everybody on that. That does not exist anymore. They are not spending millions to buy movies and bury them, you know, on a wide scale. And
No.
not a famous filmmaker, not an even well-known filmmaker, but it's just like, that's the way it was a couple years ago, is they were just buying everything up to be the biggest libraries and to be the most powerful. You know, the only option you got as a viewer is Netflix, you know. And now that they realized, like, you know, it's not going to work like that, it's not going to happen like that, they're like, well, it turns out these fucking Seinfeld and Friends reruns do the best for us, you know.
Yes.
Let's just invest a lot of money in these reruns. And I do think that is true, though, John. I got rid of Netflix because I haven't been on Netflix in a year. Because when I go there, I'm like, this is a ghost town. There's nothing I want to see in here. I don't want to see the new, like, you know, the new comedy special by a screaming white guy, and it's called Triggered. You know, like, that's what I feel like is on there whenever I go on Netflix.
You don't feel good watching a Netflix movie or Netflix show the way you would feel like, well, if I go on the Criterion channel and I watch like Blast of Silence or something, it's like, well,
Yeah.
I can check that off the list.
Yeah.
These are movies. It's like, yeah, they're not fun to watch at like 9 p.m. But like when I wake up at 5 a.m., and I'm awake, like,
Yeah.
I enjoy watching these movies, like, and paying attention. But
Well,
like,
but also Netflix movies are like an Adam Sandler, Jennifer Aniston comedy that would be fun to go to the theater to see. And when you watch them at home, it feels somehow like second rate, like
Yes.
catching crap on cable that didn't get a real release, you know? And I think the diminishment of theatrical, they haven't figured out what to do about it, you know? Whereas Lisa, this movie Lisa, they knew exactly what to do with this movie. Am I right, guys? Harry
yeah.
Sherman and United
Well, I was
Artists.
going to say the only streaming service I have any fun with now is Tubi, because that has the closest to old video store content.
Yes.
That's where you can find Lisa. That's where you can find like these weird late 80s, early 90s movies. They have a regular 24-hour running classic Doctor Who channel now. I just leave that on in the background all day. I love it. I don't know how Tubi exists or how they function, but like that's the one that I go to.
Yeah, Tubi definitely has like a TBS afternoon feel to it.
Yes.
Yeah, but enjoy it now. That thing is not gonna. That's not gonna last.
Sure.
Tubi.
I am enjoying it now. I know it's
like,
probably not gonna, be around too long. But while it is, I'm definitely gonna watch, Prayer for the Roller Boys or whatever happens to be on there.
We should, if we're talking about Lisa being a VHS hit and sort of existing in the VHS world, right? We have to talk about, it's got one of the all-time like bait and switch covers. This was a movie that was positioned right next to all of the other softcore movies in the video store. Lisa is very consciously imitating the boxes for like Animal
Poison
Instincts too. Exactly.
Poison Ivy, Streets.
Yeah, exactly. Someone out there is Lisa's fantasy.
There's definitely that, but also
pray she never meets him.
But also, I think of this movie as like the most successful YA novel turned into a movie, and that cover, video cover, looks like a YA novel from that period.
Well, it's definitely a movie that you would be like, oh, look at this, and then be like, PG-13. What are they trying to pull here with this movie? What kind of thing are they trying to pull?
I got to tell the story of how I heard of Lisa. So I went to New Beverly for a triple feature: The Stepfather, Scream for Help, and then Lisa. Tuesday night. So Lisa comes on at midnight after Scream for Help. I'm like, look, I'm sure this is good. It's PG-13. It's not gonna, Scream for Help delivered everything I could ever want from a movie. And sometimes you watch a movie in a double feature or triple feature, it's so good you're like, I'm not going to stay for the second movie.
Yeah.
This is great. So,
and for people who aren't familiar with Scream for Help, it's a Michael Winner classic. John has actually written about it for the website. So go to our website and look up Scream for Help.
thepinksmoke.com.
thepinksmoke.org.edu.
You can get a
wonderful
full
film that people
education.
just keep discovering again and again. I remember being at a convention where I saw a bootleg for Scream for Help, and the person was like, I gotta tell you all about this movie. And I was like, oh, I know all about this movie. But I'm glad that he's, telling every single person who comes there the plot of Scream for Help.
Yeah. But then
Lisa
Lisa
some great
held your
programming
attention,
by the New
right?
Beverly.
Like Lisa held up. Watching it this time, I was very much, I didn't even know, I don't know if it was subconsciously buried there if you told me that triple feature story before, but I was watching it and I was like, this is the spiritual brother to the stepfather. It's just so stepfather in tone and execution and quality level. It's, yeah, at any rate.
So the thing about Lisa, here's the thing that makes it extremely unique, even though it belongs in this like world of erotic thrillers. Gary Sherman, he directed a movie called Vice Squad. If you never heard of it, it's one of the
Listen
sleazy...
to our Pink Smoke episode on it with screenwriter Tom Vaughn.
It's one of the sleaziest 80s movies. It's like, it's a I guess you could call it a masterpiece of that type. But
Scorsese thought so.
Yes. Greatest living
Movie,
filmmaker
knee
in
deep
America.
in the neon slime, that movie.
Yes.
So Vice Squad is it's this amazing movie. Gary Sherman, he has a 14-year-old daughter. She's complaining, I can't watch any of your movies. I can't watch Vice Squad, Dead and Buried, Deathline. So he decided to make an erotic thriller for his 14-year-old daughter. A PG-13 movie. And that's what makes it unique, is that this movie can be enjoyed by girls, teenage girls. And every other one of them, Scream for Help, Stepfather, they're made for dudes, young men, older men, boys. They're all for men. And it's a very rare thing to make a movie specifically for 13-year-old girls.
That's funny. Stephen King wrote his fantasy novel, Eyes of the Dragon, for his daughter for the exact same reason. I never thought that Lisa was the Eyes of the Dragon of Gary Sherman's career, but I guess it is.
Well, Trey Parker is in Despicable Me 3 for the same reason. His kids were like, I can't see any of your stuff that you make. So he's like, I'll be the villain in this movie.
He's the best thing about it.
We've got a descending level of quality there, starting with Lisa, going to Stephen King, going to Despicable Me 3. There, sort of headed down towards the
but
pits.
The thing...
and then the very bottom is Raul Julia doing Street Fighter 2, because his kid's being like, "You better do this fucking movie."
Where does Frank Langella playing Skeletor in Masters of the Universe fall in there?
Exact same level as Bob Hoskins doing Mario Brothers because of his kids.
That's exactly right.
The funniest, though, is Bill Murray doing Garfield because Joel Cohen wrote it, and it's the wrong Joel Cohen.
My favorite part about that, for that part, is they told him how much money they had to perform Garfield. And he said, "Look, guys, I don't even walk down to the end of my driveway for that amount of money." Which is amazing.
Bill Murray detests kids. He must.
John, but you were talking about this. You see this as like a YA type film. Watching it this time, I was like, this is Blue Velvet for 13-year-old girls. This is Nancy Drew, the way Blue Velvet is like perverted boys detective story. This is like Nancy Drew for like girls who are a little too old for Nancy Drew anymore,
Yeah, that's perfect to bring it back to Stephen King. I remember being a kid in my friend's church group. He dragged me to some church group with a bunch of women who were talking about things being, too violent and awful in books and movies these days. And one of them was talking about, what about the days of Nancy Drew when, there was a noise and she was in danger, but it turned out it was the friendly gardener all along. And, that's the kind of thrills I like. And I immediately said, well, what about Stephen King? Are you a fan of Stephen King? She had never heard of Stephen King, but I always thought about like that, the friendly gardener, and like what the truthful version of the friendly gardener would be. And I think Lisa is like the truthful version of what a Nancy Drew kind of story would be, a Nancy Drew narrative, where it's like it's about a woman, a young woman like coming into her own and like learning about like kind of having a coming of age situation where there's like
Yeah.
actual danger, and like the thing around the corner isn't the friendly gardener, it's a serial killer, like someone
Yeah.
who wants to like horribly murder you and your mother.
Well, it's also not hammer it too hard to Blue Velvet, but it's the same idea of what they're really exploring. What Jeffrey Beaumont and Lisa are really exploring is the adult world and exposure to real sex and violence, right? That's actually, it's not a murder mystery. It's not, that's not really what they're about. It's actually exploring what it means to be an adult and to encounter sex and violence. And I think this movie does. I gotta say, I fucking love this movie. I don't know if we got to be on the record with it, but watching it again, it was just like, this movie's really something special. It's weird to say about it. It's like The Stepfather in that way, where I can imagine somebody watching The Stepfather and being like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, that movie's not good, because there's certain things about it. I think if you're a fucking nitwit, I can see how you don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a dum-dum and you're like, that thing isn't any good, I can see where that comes from. You know what I mean? So it's not that I want to overpraise it, but there is something really spectacular about this movie.
I told my
Like Blue
girlfriend
Velvet,
about it.
Roger Ebert hated it.
Yeah. Well,
One
Roger
and a half
Ebert
stars.
Called it a bludgeon movie, and it's like the only scene where anyone gets bludgeoned is where he uses her mother to bludgeon her, and it's like that's a very horrible, memorable moment in that movie.
Yeah, getting knocked out with your own mother's head.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert cannot he cannot write a review for a movie he doesn't like that's remotely interesting. He's incapable of doing it. His reviews of where he
What
doesn't
about
like the
when
movie,
he talks about how Gamera is powered by farts? That's a remotely interesting view. Or oh, you're right. I was going to say, or the one where he gives
That's a
he writes the
positive review,
review
though,
of Garfield, Tale of Two Kitties as Garfield, and that's a positive one too.
Super. It's just an awful review. He hated that
Yeah.
movie. Wet
Well,
Hot American
he's-
Summer is the worst review ever written by a human being.
I don't know. There's some
terrible.
There's some David
Dude,
Denby reviews.
Wet Hot American
incredible.
Summer is written in Hello Mutta, Hello Fada. He just
Oh, no.
it's a parody of those song lyrics. It's
So
fucking
is it worse? Is it
it's the worst thing I've ever read.
Is it worse than Manola Dargis's Cat in the Hat review that's written in Susian rhyming couplets? Because
I haven't read
is
it.
fucking atrocious as well.
But that's a horrible movie.
Yes,
Wet Hot American
you're right.
Summer is
That's the trump. You're right. I take it back. That's the trump card.
people like Wet Hot American Summer was great. You know,
It's fantastic. No, the measure of a critic being good isn't how well they write about movies that everyone agrees are great. The measure of the value of a critic is if they're able to identify movies that are good that everyone else has overlooked or downplayed or degraded and denigrated, right? And no critic has a worse track record of identifying movies that were overlooked or unfairly denigrated than Roger Ebert. No critic has a worse track record of saying, you know what's terrible? Wet Hot American Summer. And you know what's great? Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. Like, no critic is fucking worse at it than him. In the
Can you
history of
imagine
critics.
having Ebert's position and being like, I'm going to come down on this tiny little independent comedy. I'm really going to just destroy it.
They love guys like that, love the low-hanging fruit cheap shots. Guys like that they just sit there sharpening their knives to get Rob Schneider. Oh, we're going to take care of Rob Schneider today. Get that guy off his high horse. You know, at any rate, I can imagine. I would say that Roger Ebert giving Lisa a bad review is a mark in its favor. You know, like Bingham's famous 2 thumbs down campaign for Lost Highway. You know, it's really is one of those things where if you know, Il Maestro de Color Cesano, if you know what you're talking about, then you go, oh, Ebert hated it? That sounds like something I should check out.
Yeah, I mean, it probably comes from the same place as his negative review of Blue Velvet, which is violence against women. Well, then I'm against it just because it's about violence against women, and it's like, yeah,
I
but
don't
it can be like a movie with strong female characters and like interesting things to say, even if they are running for their lives. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't done the actual figures, but how much more dialogue is there for women in this movie than there are for the male characters? It's definitely like a really strong female movie.
Yeah, but the guy who shines the most is Don at the bowling alley. He's the film's most unforgettable character. So,
Yeah,
that blows that
you don't
theory
think it
out of the
was
water.
you don't think it was John Hawker at the at the grocery store
oh,
who gets so much screen time? I
Just
like
the
to bring him up
camera
because
lingering on him.
something up with
that
that guy.
year, 1990, right, his last year of making movies before his death, he was in this movie, he was in Charles Burnett's To Sleep with Anger, and he was in Dennis Hopper's The Hot Spot. What a trifecta of
Damn.
weirdness. I love it.
3 movies people still watch.
I definitely do. Absolutely.
So we got to talk about the cast.
It's
got
a killer
Stacey-
cast.
Stacey Keenan from Step by Step and My Two Dads.
Girl I
yeah,
had an immense crush on when I was little. Immense.
this is so Step by Step. She's like, the hoity-toity pretty girl. Is she mean? I don't really remember, but she was like,
She's a little bit jockey, but she's also a popular girl.
yeah, she's the popular girl.
She's not like a Kelly Bundy. She's like popular, but like not quite Blossom hip, but like
No.
wears a sweat jacket, chews bubble gum kind.
And then the other person on that show, I mean, besides Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Summers, is Sasha Mitchell as Cody.
Of wife beating and Spike of Bensonhurst fame.
Spike of Bensonhurst, great movie.
Phenomenal.
And class of 1999 too, The Substitute. Okay. It's okay. But
Which is he in one of the best movies? He's like
he's in
best
3
the
of
best.
them.
Yeah. That's enough.
Bulk of the series.
Not the first one, but 2, 3, and 4. So, but the other kids don't stick out. I guess there's that nerd. That wasn't really, I mean, that was a show I watched, but it's not.
I mean, how could you possibly?
There's so many kids
it?
on that. There's so many kids on that show. It's crazy.
That's the idea is like, look at all these fucking kids is the idea of the show.
That was the tagline for the show.
And then-
Jesus Christ, can you imagine being in a family that goddamn big?
And then we have
Thanksgiving would be crazy.
I only know her for Lisa. It wasn't part of the Step by Step.
You didn't see her on My Two Dads. On My Two Dads, she did
No.
play a much more Blossom-esque, bucket-hatted, kooky stocking.
Punky Brewster.
Yeah, exactly. Punky
wacky
Brewster.
kid with attitude, backwards hat kind of shit. And then we have
I can visualize it.
Cheryl Ladd. She's in Charlie's Angels, which I've never watched. I've never seen an episode of Charlie's Angels. It's before my time.
It's one of those shows that if it's before your time, 0% chance you're going to sit down and watch an episode. I know exactly what I've never seen it. It's like it's impossible to imagine a circumstance in which I would watch an episode of Charlie's Angels.
Being from the late 80s, growing up of that time, shows from the late 70s felt very dated. They felt so dated that you couldn't even handle them being on TV for like 30 seconds. You had to change the channel. You just could not.
With one key exception, The Fall Guy held up. Who didn't watch The Fall Guy? You get reeled in with that theme song. Oh my God, it was dynamite. And then you're like, I watched $6 Million Man too. That comes on and you're like, nope, it's only The Fall Guy. That's the only one that works.
And then we got her. She's also famous for her daughter Jordan Ladd, who's in Death Proof and some other teen 2000s movies.
Yeah. Do we agree she is the major weak point of this movie?
Yes. Oh,
She's
good. She's good, but she's supposed to be playing a 30-year-old woman, a 31-year-old woman, right?
Whoa, really?
Because if she had Lisa at 16 and Lisa's 14,
yeah, so early 30s.
She should be 30, but she's clearly like 40, and she's my girlfriend said like she doesn't look like a single mom.
She's she's supposed to be younger, I think. Because don't they
Yes.
say she's younger than 16 when she has Lisa?
She's 16-ish, I guess. But like,
Well, because there's a
She
fucking
should
line about
be-
it that indicates like you got pregnant at like the
Yeah.
age I got pregnant at the age you are now.
so
There's a
she
line.
should. Plus, they look alike. They're supposed to be sisters in certain scenes. If she was 30, if they actually looked
Or
alike, if there was,
28. Yeah.
yeah, it would be like, whoa, this is, it would give it an extra level. But he was friends with Cheryl Ladd, he said, Gary Sherman. So he probably needed a bigger. Everybody in this movie is a TV star. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
and she's almost 40 at that point, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, which is, nothing wrong with that. She looks fantastic, but you're right. She doesn't look like a single mom. She doesn't look like she's struggling at all. And
Her
she's
business
just,
is doing okay.
yeah, you just wish it was a more interesting actress in that role, especially because Stacey Keenan is super interesting, and Tanya Fenmore, her friend, they're both fantastic as the two teenage girls, and D.W. Moffat is a delight as always. You kind of wish Cheryl was up to it. She's not bad in it by any stretch. She's just
No, she gives a good performance, but I agree. The slightly miscast. I would agree with that.
It's not. It's. She does remind me of the woman in Vice Squad. Does he? I think
yeah,
Russell's ex-wife. I can never remember.
the Child's Play actress.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Like-
no, not Christy McNichol.
Not
Yeah,
Child.
what's
Not,
her name?
Child's Play actress. No, that's Catherine Hicks. From
Isn't
Star
Catherine
Trek
Hicks?
4. Yeah, in it's Season Hubley in Vice Squad.
Oh, okay. I'm getting confused. I'm getting my blondes confused. But
Yeah.
D.W. Moffat. Now I found out he was in a great TV show called The Oldest Rookie with Paul Sorvino. If you've never seen the intro for that show, which lasted for one season,
Longest goddamn intro for a show I've ever seen.
watch that on YouTube.
Is that really the intro for every single episode? Was this 5-minute backstory of Sorvino joining the squad?
It looks like a Tim and Eric sketch. It's about an old rookie, a cop who's in his 50s, Paul Sorvino, and his partner is this young whippersnapper, D.W. Moffat. I have seen the movie May December twice, and I didn't realize D.W. Moffat was even in that movie in a good scene and playing a good character that, I didn't recognize him. He plays the
Me neither.
He plays the ex-husband of Julianne Moore. And he
So
has
weird.
You know
if he's
what
not
I,
driving. If he's not driving the Jeep around, it's hard to recognize.
is that watching him this time is that he plays the like deadbeat dad in 13, the
Yes.
Catherine Hardwicke movie.
Oh.
I haven't
written
seen
by
that in
the-
20 years, so
Well,
I can't.
it's funny because that movie is like the brain damaged sensationalistic bullshit version of Lisa. You know what I mean? It's the like Larry Clark light, like kind of cheeseball
It's the message
Hollywood.
movie. It's the
It's like an
message movie.
after-school special version of Lisa, right?
Well, yes, it's after school, but they're also like they're crazier and they're more oversexed and they get in more trouble. It's the like it's the like, it's the tabloid, it's the phony version of Lisa in a lot of ways.
Well, it's
which
a
I think
non-genre film.
Well, if you put them next to each other, I think it shows like, oh, all of the sort of falsehood of one versus the other in an interesting way.
Like we were talking about how movies on Netflix and streaming, they're forgettable, they're not interesting.
Mhm.
But like New World Picture, Roger Corman movies, Vestron Video, why are these movies interesting? And I think it's because when given the framework of genre, you're allowed to, it does the heavy lifting for you, and you have these parameters that you're working with. And that, look, Gary Sherman is a really good director, talented director. I don't want to see Gary Sherman make an art film. I don't want to see Gary Sherman make an important prestige movie. I don't want to see him make a movie where, there's no genre elements. I want to see thrillers. I want to see mysteries. I want to see, erotic thrillers. I want to see
Biographies of Bo Diddley.
Yeah, I want to see horror movies. I want to see like proto Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies with Donald Pleasance with like an amazing series of monologues like Deathline. Like people aren't talented enough to be. It's like you're like, who's going to be the next Tarkovsky? Like, who's going to be the next Philip Kaufman? They can't do it. There's no people aren't capable of making
Yeah. Well, but it's
art
also,
from their soul. It's like these studios don't care. Like, I mean, they can't even make fucking Indiana Jones movies anymore. So it's really
but when you talk about like the Corman and the Vestron video stuff and the Canon stuff, and you're like, why is that interesting? It makes me
where
think
cribs
of
go.
he hung up.
This is what I always say. I say people aren't capable of being artists, and
Wait,
that
wait,
they
wait. We should wait for John. His internet crashed. What do you want to
oh,
do?
can we just take a break?
You're going to get it going again? I'll make my point and hopefully you can log on. Bye, John. When you talk about the Corman movies and the Vestron video and the Canon stuff, I'm not sure that stuff is interesting, right? I think it's just old. And I was thinking about this because my upstairs neighbor, who's this woman who's like a very hip young woman, in some way, she was playing music that I could hear through the house. She plays her music too loud because she's a kid who moved to Queens because Brooklyn's too expensive and she doesn't understand like Queens is not that you got to leave. Don't play your music too loud. But it was like cool stuff, It was like interesting, cool music. I can't think of any fucking examples. Older music that would have been cool even in its day, like the Strokes or whatever. And then the Puddle of Mud song came on, just like in the middle of this mix, right? The she fucking hates me, like those people, right? And it was incredible because like that's as bad as music is. And if you were in that era, like those were one of those bands that's like, this is as awful as a band fucking gets. This music's terrible. It might as well have been Buck Cherry or fucking Nickelback or something coming on. And what you have to realize is because she's much younger, she's like early 20s, all old stuff is cool. It just becomes cool by virtue of being old. And all of the things that to you, it's like when you would talk to like a baby boomer about like, they'd be like Bob Dylan, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, yeah, my favorite album that year was like that fucking Boyce and Hart album. I really like the Monkees. They'd be like, what? Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like the Archies have some good songs, like this reaction of like, no, that's shit. But I think everybody, I think everybody who looks back at that stuff, or my generation, doesn't have that distinction of like, the Monkees made people really, really fucking angry the way NSYNC did, and you look back at them now and you're like, you're crazy. Those are genuinely good songs. You're crazy. And I think that just happens to old stuff, and with movies in particular even more so, because very few movies have like associations of cool or not cool attached to them in their cultural moment in the same way. Like it's music inherently has that going on with it at all times, whether this is cool or not cool. Not all movies have coolness or uncoolness attached to them in some way. But it's like just once, not all. I'm just saying not all. Some do for sure. Some do, but not
we're
all.
nerds like to think certain movies are cool.
Yeah. So, and regular people think certain movies are cool. Like I remember like when Donnie Darko had its moment, and I programmed it at the theater I was programming, like the cool kids showed up to see it. And I was like, wow, this movie's so obviously profoundly fucking lame. Like, I can't believe, but it had that kind of midnight madness thing associated to it, like King of Hearts. Like that movie was cool for in its midnight madness run for bizarre reasons.
Is that the Philippe de
Yeah.
Boca?
Yeah.
A confounding
Broca.
movie, De Broca, a movie that I've probably seen the trailer like 30 times at New Beverly. For some reason, they played it all month when it was going to play.
Yeah.
And I just could not understand what the hell this was. And then I heard people on a podcast talking about like, I think Matthew Weiner and this was like, oh yeah, in the 70s, I was a a big deal, and it's like,
Yeah.
how could that have been a big deal?
Well,
But
exactly. How could Donnie Darko been a big deal? You know, like you watch that movie now. I watched it with my son because he wanted to see it, and like it's dead in the water. You know, it's just like, but I think that old stuff inherently becomes interesting, you know, just by virtue of its oldness, if not cool. You know, things that were like not cool in their day, like cool, cool people will like John Wayne or Clint Eastwood now. And those things were like antithetical to coolness in some way,
mhm.
you know? And so I'm not sure it's entirely genre that does it. I think just people get artworks get older, and just the oldness washes away. Just old things are cool and old things are interesting.
Like Play It Again, Sam. The
Yeah,
70s love of Humphrey Bogart, Long
yeah,
Goodbye. 20 years go by, it now is cool. And also, one thing I love about these like late 80s, early 90s cable video kind of movies is they're all shot in LA. And I live in
yeah.
LA, and I can go, oh, I know that street. I know that street. This is before everything is shot in, now everything's shot in Atlanta. Things used to be shot in Toronto.
I was watching this movie and thinking, God, LA is fucking disgusting. It's the worst city on earth. That's what I was thinking watching Lisa this time.
That neighborhood, the arts district, that's where they shot the chase scenes in To Live and Die in LA.
Yeah.
I mean, even the motorcycle scene in Purple Rain is shot there. I mean, like, they used to shoot everything there because it was empty. It was the Williamsburg of its era. It was the commercial district.
Yeah.
The factory's closed. You could shoot there all night. You could shoot Black Moon Rising and have the
Yeah.
car drive around downtown LA.
It's funny you mentioned Blast of Silence. I was watching that recently, and that's New York, obviously. And there's a scene where the car comes off the Queensboro Bridge, right? And that's all changed, that area, a huge amount. Except at the very end of the bridge, there's like a right turn to go towards the to go towards the highway over there. And that's the exact commute I used to take. And there's one building that's completely unchanged right at that turn. And it was this weird, like, oh my God, that's that exact moment of turning this direction I've done 100,000 times in my life. And I had that exactly what you're talking about of like, oh my God, look at that. You know, like it was like stepping in a time machine.
Yeah. The coolest LA movie of all time from everything I've ever seen is the M remake by Joseph Losey, because it is it's shot in Bunker Hill. It's all shot on location in downtown LA. It's like half of those neighborhoods, half of those buildings don't even exist anymore. But then of course they go into the most famous building in LA, the Bradbury building from Blade Runner. And there's this like huge set piece. And it's like, just, I mean, it's an M remake. It's a weird, it shouldn't be interesting. It should be horrible, but it's actually, just because it's like, oh, nostalgia, it's old. Look at that building. It's the best one.
Joseph Losey's specialty, though, is movies that are more interesting than good. That's his specialty as a filmmaker.
He made a movie called Figures in a Landscape with Malcolm McDowell, and I forget who else, and a helicopter chasing them.
I'm already out. Figures in a Landscape, Joseph Losey, I'm out.
They're chased by a helicopter.
For that part of the double feature.
I didn't finish it. I watched maybe a good hour, and it just never gets going. It's just, is he the most pretentious filmmaker? He's up there.
Depends on how you define pretentious. John, you recommended Lisa for this episode, and you are being the most silent.
Well, I
the
did.
least talkative, just a lot of nodding right there. Why did you want to do this?
I don't know LA, man. Sorry.
Oh, okay. But you know Lisa.
No, in general, you're not talking much. Why did you want stupid Lisa garbage face? Why did you want to do this?
Well, the same things that Will is talking about. Just this is like a particular area of films where genre films especially are really interesting, you know? And and I don't think it's a thing of like people are like having a fond nostalgia or coming back towards them, that the reason that they're getting talked about now. I think that they were always awesome, and people are just maybe either remembering them now or just discovering them. I mean, Shockma was always awesome, right? It's not like it's just like turned awesome in 2021. It's just, it's always been great.
You know, I know Funderburg hates crate digging, but
I don't hate crate digging. What makes you think I hate crate digging?
Well, you have disparaged crate digging in the past. Anyway, crate digging, as a horror movie fan, you go through the 70s, okay? And there's all like deluxe fucking DVDs and Blu-rays for every Dario Argento movie. You can get the 5 days Dario Argento's movie on 4K Blu-ray. It is
terrible.
Throw it out the window.
It is awful.
But it's all out there now. And then it's like, okay, and then the 80s, we're digging through the 80s. You know, we got every Wes Craven TV movie is on Blu-ray. And now we're getting to the point where people are digging through the straight-to-video stuff.
Again, these are terrible movies you're bringing up. Is this your argument in favor of great?
Well, I'm just saying that people are...
Is Wes Anderson's TV movies?
Or Wes Craven's.
They're
awful. But I'm just saying, like, now something like The Unborn, right? That movie from the guy who made Idle Hands.
I love The Unborn. We're huge Rodman Flender fans.
Okay, that movie is cool. You know, I saw that at New Beverly. I was like, whoa, this is a cool... This movie delivers. Is it Rosemary's Baby? No, but it's...
Do you know what the title of his Leprechaun movie was originally? It wasn't just Leprechaun 2. It was Leprechaun, four funerals and a wedding.
They should have let him do that. I don't know why they're afraid
it's a
to be...
great title. He's got his little leprechaun go-kart.
I like the Leprechaun in Las Vegas. Is that the one he made?
No. I don't think they're in Las Vegas. Maybe.
Yeah, there's a few Leprechaun movies. There's a bunch. I think it's Leprechaun 3.
He made the all-time greatest softcore movie, In the Heat of Passion, which is the all-time best softcore. It has the best setup.
A+.
The setup. Do you know this movie, In the Heat of Passion?
No.
There's a woman who wants her husband killed. And there's this actor who's been playing on like an America's Most Wanted style TV reenactments, a killer who's supposedly on the run, and she sees him and gets confused and thinks he's really a killer, not just a fucking schmuck LA actor type. And so she like femme fatale seduces him into the web of killing her husband on this false premise that he's actually the guy, the wanted criminal. It's dynamite. Sally Kirkland.
Sally Kirkland's finest hour.
Ooh, Sally Kirkland. I always get Sally Kirkland mixed up with Sally Kellerman.
Sally Kirkland is the one who went on Howard Stern and was bullied into taking her top off shortly after she was nominated for an Academy Award. That's the easiest way to remember who Sally Kirkland
Sally
is.
Kellerman is in Meatballs 3.
And Sally Kirkman's the one who gets beat up and left on the side of the road at the beginning of JFK.
Yeah.
It's a weird
She's got a weird career.
I just watched Cold Feet with Sally Kirkland, a extremely shitty comedy western. I think is that
Hot Leg
Thomas?
Cold Feet?
No, Cold Feet, Bill Pullman. What's his face? Who's the guy from Renfield from Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Tom Waits?
Tom Waits. It's the guy who made Rancho Deluxe. It's not Frank Perry. It's the writer of Rancho Deluxe. It's another comedy western. I was hoping it'd be better. Really great dig in there.
Comedy westerns are a bad genre, man. That's rough sledding.
I think what you're saying about crate digging, though, it's interesting because obviously when you go crate digging, what you discover is Dead and Buried, right? Or Vice Squad or raw meat, all raw meat. No.
10 to midnight.
The ones that like that people are like, there's something really weird about this movie, and they have cult, status, and so they're gonna gain cult status from people rediscovering them. But Lisa's one that falls between the cracks because there's nothing particularly weird about Lisa in terms of like the premise or the setup or the cast or anything like that. It's a very straightforward kind of
The
thriller.
weird thing about Lisa is that Lisa doesn't get naked. That's ultimately...
She's 14.
I know, but I'm saying that's the weird thing. The girl in The Stepfather gets naked, has a shower scene.
It's
She's
true.
like
Teenage
60.
character does get big.
The Babysitter with Alicia Silverstone, extremely shitty straight to video
We know the babysitter.
Terrible.
teen erotic
Terrible.
thriller. I'm talking to the audience. So they have
You think we don't know the babysitter?
that movie sucks. It was, I
It's
mean, look,
fucking-
we know it because we went to Blockbuster. They had 1 million copies of it.
Yeah, with her
5
and the
years
Lolita
later, do you
glasses
think-
on the cover.
Do you think 5 years later anyone watched that movie ever again, except for the most hardcore JT Wash fan?
You know why I watched it? Do you know true story of why I watched The Babysitter again? Gave it a second chance.
I'm going to guess the reason I watched it is because I thought you would see nudity.
No,
You
huge
confuse it
Nicky,
with Doppelganger, the Drew Barrymore movie.
huge Nicky Cat fan. That's why I watched it. In like
Nicky Cat.
2000, I was a huge Nicky Cat fan. I'm like, I'm going and seeing all of it.
After the
He's-
Limey, you're like, I'm going to watch The Babysitter.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. The Limey, and I was like, oh, he plays Steve Koontz in The Burbs. This guy's my favorite guy. And then I was told by somebody in the know, I guess I can't say his name, but
Tell the
filmmaker-
truth. You love the Herbie Love Bug TV show, short-lived series with Nicky Cat.
But when they were like, when you're a filmmaker and you go to Austin and you're like an up and coming filmmaker who's like at the level of like certain level of fame and success, like don't give Nicky Cat any money. That's like what every filmmaker going to Austin gets told is like, Nicky Cat's going to ask you for money. Don't give him any money.
That's like Abel Ferrara.
Yeah.
Don't give Abel Ferrara $20. You won't get that back.
Yeah. But apparently this is like Nicky Cat's MO to a point where just like you get warned.
Good. Good for
I
him.
don't know, man. I'd
Pay your
fall
respects
victim.
to Nicky Cat.
That's what I'm saying is he'd get my money if I went out there. Big shot, fresh off getting nominated for a Golden Globe.
Nicky Cat's
Best
getting all
director.
the money.
Golden Globe.
Exactly. That's the highest
If you're nominated for a
award,
Golden Globe, you
the
paid
highest
for it.
award to which I can achieve. That's the highest level to which a filmmaker can ascend. And then
And-
Nicky
and
Cat's
Hollywood
like,
Foreign
Nicky
Press.
Cat's like, I need $2,000. I know, like The Foreigner. Is that what that movie's called with Johnny Depp? That famously got nominated for a ton of Golden Globes. And everybody was like, what? This is so fucking stupid, even by their standards.
Hey, I love the Hollywood Foreign Press. They do great work.
I've only had great
Ricky
experiences
Gervais,
with them.
he roasts the audience. It's a great show. They're all drinking. They're having fun. The awards are terrible, but I respect payola. Things were better with payola. Okay.
There's an argument to be made for that.
Thank you.
They'll never have fun again now that they got the Will Smiths patrolling right from the audience.
That's
Just to bring it back around though, the difference between Lisa, I know, and a movie like Dead and Buried, where it's like a crazy, weird premise, or Vice Squad that just has so many insane elements about it, is that it distinguishes him as like he's a great filmmaker. You know, that he can make those movies and have a Lisa at the same time. So that's, for me, is like what real discovery is to see a movie that is not like, other than its other merits, you know, I mean, bizarro, weird merits are, you know, totally legit. But like the fact that this has is a very straightforward kind of film that is great speaks, I think, to Gary Sherman being like a legit director.
yeah, and the movie of his that it is closest to is Vice Squad, right? I mean, it has it's a woman being pursued by a psycho killer.
But specifically like woman hating psycho.
Yes. And it's interesting. I was looking up phone thrillers because there's a lot of like late 80s phone thrillers, 70s.
Like 976 Evil.
No. It's more of a supernatural phone film. I
Like
was looking
When a Stranger Calls.
Stranger
Back.
Calls.
When a Stranger Calls. I watched a really good one with Patricia Charbonneau called Call Me from 1988.
Oh, that
Steve-
one's good. Yeah.
Steve
that one's
Buscemi.
good. Yeah. That one runs out of steam in the last
Yes.
half hour. It very much to where they're ending and like, we're just going to run around catwalks in the smoke factory.
There's something
you know?
about missing money that is holding the whole thing back. Whereas the thing that's really interesting about that movie is that she's flirting with this creepy pervert who's calling her.
Yeah.
but she's into it because her relationship is
Because
she's
her
like
boyfriend is not dicking her down right. That's specifically the plot, is that like if her boyfriend was fucking her right, she wouldn't need this weirdo pervert on the phone.
It's it was good. I liked all the pervert phone stuff. There's a great 360 camera move in her loft where she's masturbating, listening to this guy talk sexy to her. Yeah. And there's even a shot of her laying upside down with the phone and the cord. That is literally like a shot in Lisa where Lisa is upside down on the phone. The thing that makes Lisa
One
really
more
good
thing about Call Me that should
Go
be
ahead.
pointed out is how much the Coen brothers clearly saw that movie because of how Buscemi and the other guy are dressed and have their hair done. Like it is so much like Buscemi and Stormare and Fargo. It's startling the first time you see it. But go on.
Another thing about Call Me, great double feature with Alan Rudolph's Choose Me.
Is that the Keith Carradine one?
Yeah.
Some great LA. I mean, it's probably shot in the same.
Which one? Did he do like 6 movies with Keith Carradine?
Yeah. Fuck. I can't. I
Ray
don't know the
Don
Alan
Chong.
Rudolph movies. I can't tell them apart. Okay, the Ray Don Chong one. That's the one with the weird downtown
Sarandon.
thing where they're hanging out and
No, Leslie Ann Warren, not Sarandon.
yeah, they're hanging out downtown. I believe that's shot in the exact same neighborhood as Lisa downtown.
I believe.
So, now the thing I like about Lisa is that once Lisa goes the extra mile, sneaks into D.W. Moffat's car, and then gets taken on that ride with him in the front, listening to really cool music.
Bo Diddley.
He's just rocking out really hard.
You know what I wanted about that is at that time, like Bo Jackson was huge, like he was everywhere. And Bo Diddley appeared in that commercial, the Bo Knows commercial, it was like, Bo, you don't know Diddley showing up at the end. He had like a little resurgence. And I was wondering, like, was him popping up in Lisa some kind of a after, kind of shock of that resurgence, but maybe.
Sherman did The Legend of Bo Diddley, the documentary. So he
I
clearly
think
is
he's
Bo
a
Diddley
fan.
fan from the beginning.
Oh, so yeah, I did not even put that together.
But once that scene happens, and then the movie basically functions on every scene then has a therefore transition, which is like the key to making something like making a movie go down smoothly, to make a movie just like to just keep feeding an audience, to just keep like literally like you're fishing and then you have them on the lure and you're just reeling them in, just scene after scene after scene. And it's like there's some like great cuts. There's a great cut where her mom calls her and then it cuts to Lisa at the cabin with her friend. And you're just like, and then now you're freaking out because you're like, is the Candlelight Killer going to kill Lisa's mom? Is she going to come home? And then like, is the ending of the movie going to be that she comes home and her mom is just strangled to death?
Yeah.
That's like something I seriously thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was just like freaking out. I was like, oh my God, that's so dark. That is so dark. Cause it's PG-13. I'm thinking,
how dark can this go? I think
how dark can this go?
Yeah.
And also, that's not bloody.
Yeah.
That's not out of the realm of possibility.
I was worried about going back to the car scene when he pulls out the cassette tapes. Like, is he going to listen to like his answering machine tapes, like with her in the back? It'd be like a Dennis Reynolds situation where he's listening to like his sex tapes in the car. So kind of driving the same kind of vehicle too in Always Sunny. That would be awkward for her.
Yeah, no, you're supposed to worry for that. You're I think in that moment you're supposed to be worried about it. You're exactly right, where it creates questions that are very pressing, narrative action that's very pressing and keeps stacking it on top of each other, especially towards the end where it's like, how are they getting out of this? How is anybody getting out of this? There's sort of no way to avoid these problems, and they're doing innocent things that are compounding problems, or not so innocent things. It's a mixture of dumb things and innocent things that are creating the issues for it. And I do think it's I think it's a psychologically perceptive movie. I think it's also, I'd be interested to show it to a kid and see like what I'd want to know what his daughter's reaction is, because when I watch it, I'm like, this reminds me of being a kid more than a lot of stuff does. Something like Clueless does not remind me of being a
No.
teenager at all. 0% reminds me of being a teenager. It's sort of some different, heightened, idealized, melodramatized version of that. This movie of
Except you
like,
definitely went to a Mighty Mighty Bosstones concert when you were a kid.
Well,
I definitely did, but this one does remind me more of like
Gary-
what it's like fucking around with your friends and
Gary
the stupid
Sherman-
things you do.
Gary Sherman isn't negatively influenced by John Hughes. He doesn't fall into that trap of the jock, the geek, the popular
Yeah.
girl. Lisa and her friend are just like any other girls.
Yeah,
But Lisa's mom doesn't want her going out on dates.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
guy who's good looking is afraid to kiss the other girl,
Yes.
even though he drives his muscle car, and he's cute, but he's not like some lunatic looking guy. He's just another kid. He's not, Zachary Ty Bryant showing up and being like, this is some type. It's exactly what you're saying. I think it does a really good job with that. You know who I love in this movie? Because when he shows up, you're like, oh, that's where she came from, is Jeffrey Tambor. When he
Yes.
shows up in the movie, you like understand everything about Wendy's home life. Also, did you guys think it's weird that they're named Wendy and Lisa? How did you feel about them being named Wendy and Lisa? Like the women who wrote all of songs with Prince early on? No, not a big Wendy and Lisa fan. I'm getting dead.
I kept thinking of Peter Pan is like Wendy.
Yeah.
Wendy is in Peter Pan.
Yeah. But
They should
Tambor
have
showing
had
up, you're
a-
just like, oh, that's who Wendy is in a really clear way based on her dad,
They should have had a crush on Prince. It would make more sense than having a crush on Tom Petty. Like that was the
Oh,
one thing that
yes.
didn't ring true
George
for me is
Michael?
that well, George Michael more
Michael.
so. That
Yeah.
makes sense. But Tom Petty's like, it reminded me of that Sabrina Teenage Witch episode with the violent femmes where all the girls have a crush on Gordon Gano. What the fuck? You guys have seen Gordon Gano before, right?
Would you want Dio?
And is it on is it 90210 where they're really into the flaming lips for one episode? I always love when
They appear in an
Oh.
episode. I can't remember if they were crushing
That's
on him or not.
completely, that's payola. I mean, come on. Because of
Oh, it
but
all
that,
is.
that like magazine song or whatever.
Yeah.
It's big for like, or what's it called? Jelly?
You don't use jelly?
Jelly. Yeah.
They're one hit wonder until they crawled back.
Yeah. But no, I think the Tom Petty thing, I had the exact same reaction.
It's weird.
Like, this is ludicrous. How come none of these girls was like, absolutely not? But 1990 is also like the year of Free Fallin', and like Johnny Depp is in his music videos and stuff, with like for Rebel Without a Clue.
The
and
Full Moon Fever poster on the bedroom. Okay.
yeah.
Putting herself, making a collage of her kissing him, kissing Tom Petty.
Yeah.
No, you pushed it too far.
Especially when you see that the dude she's into, the Candlelight Killer, is nothing like that. George
Right.
Michael makes sense. It's funny. I was talking with a friend of mine from another country who's younger, and she was like talking about like some very obviously like homosexual pop stars from the 80s that she had never heard of or seen before, right? Because she doesn't know the history. And seeing George Michael and being like, the video for Wake Me Up Before You Go. And she was like, people didn't know he was gay. Or she was actually like, people didn't know they were gay. And I was like, that's the thing. Andrew Ridgeley isn't gay. The other guy in Wham is super duper straight. That's why all of our gaydars were broken. You have to understand, the sexiest womanizer in the world was Prince. How could we have possibly
Yes.
guessed George Michael was gay?
Yeah. It was, George Michael surrounded himself with beautiful women, models, freedom.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
He
For
wanted
sure.
our sex. Who are
He
we
wants
to
our
judge?
love. That's the next line that some short-sighted people like you forget, William Mendoza. He wants our love as well. And you can't have one without the other. I'm actually, why I know that and think about that? I once saw Dr. Ruth being interviewed about popular pop songs on Jay Leno. And she talked about how, yes, but the next line is, I want your love. Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Nobody taking this stroll down memory lane with me.
Of course we know
I'm
Dr. Ruth.
touching live wire subjects. John, you have teenage girls who are almost Lisa's age. How do you feel about this movie?
Oh, God.
Are you going to let them date creepy, yuppie fucking restaurateurs?
Men in tuxedos.
I feel like the older I get when I watch this movie, the more I appreciate Lisa's not only Lisa's friendship with Wendy, but also her relationship with Catherine, and understand like Catherine's position more and more. I know this movie obviously because it's a Jordana Cowman favorite, from growing up. Like the first time I saw it was my wife Jordy showed it to me as one of her favorite movies, and something she brought up is, do you think that Lisa was the result of a sexual assault on her mother when she was a teenager, and is that why her mother is so protective? Is that why her family, has totally
I think
rid of her?
Any 14-year-old who gets pregnant, it's in the forest of sexual assault already, regardless of...
I think he was a great guy who just wanted nothing to do with his child. Okay. I mean, he was a cool dude.
I think she got locked. She was got locked in the insane asylum one night and was raped by 1,000 maniacs.
Ooh, Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
I think that Lisa's the daughter of 1,000 maniacs.
Will said that this movie is closest to Vice Squad, and Vice Squad obviously is a movie where it's like we're going to take like a fairy tale nightmare of we're turning LA into like a fairy tale nightmare where like here is the big bad wolf, and if you step outside, he's going to get you.
Yeah.
And Lisa kind of delves into that a little bit with her mother's worry about her leaving the apartment or going out on a date or anything like that. And I'm just, I think that there's probably something to be said to like why she feels that way, and probably because something happened in the past, whether it was that she was just, sexually active when she was, too young to be sexually active, or she actually had like a horrible experience, which ultimately, resulted
in destroyed her relationship with her parents too.
Yes.
That the parents aren't in the life. I think that what I like about the movie is I see both of their perspectives very clearly. I see Wendy's perspective very clearly. I don't think anybody's right or wrong. I think that, because I have a son that's the same age, where you want him to spread his wings. You want him to push himself out of your shadow and become his own man, at the same time being like, don't be a fucking nitwit. Like you live in New York City, like you gotta be careful, and I have to put guardrails up and have to instruct him, even as he's got friends that have no guardrails whatsoever, whose lives are completely fucking haywire through no fault of their own. And I understand that tension really, really well in this movie of Lisa needs to grow up and be allowed to be a young woman and make mistakes, right? Her mom can't clamp down, but I also completely understand her mom being like, you don't know what you're doing. You're doing various dangerous things and you don't even understand why they're dangerous.
Plus, Lisa's smart. Lisa figured out how to get a guy's identity from his license plate.
Thank
by
you,
calling
Magnum PI.
Mr. Adams. Yeah, like a cool guy with a license plate want more.
I thought they were setting him up the first time I saw it to be like, we got a photo of you with an underage girl. Give us a blackmail scheme, because she runs up and gets like the photo with the guy. I thought that it was the beaver trap con. And then she gets the second license plate from the Candlelight Killer, but she gets his information, his phone number off screen. Yeah. So that is a weird kind of element, but she's doing it in secret away from Wendy. The first time it happened so quickly, I didn't really pick up on, I was like, how did she even get into the Candlelight Killer? Was the Candlelight Killer the guy from the first scene but whatever. Anyway, Lisa is smart and she's dumb. This is what makes her an interesting kid character. She's able to figure out things. She's smart enough to get into trouble, but she's not capable of just clearing everything up. Yeah.
Right. When she's not ready for when it springs back on her, when she's not ready to, deal with the consequences of, what if this gets turned on you? Speaking of Lisa's, there's a Simpsons episode, classic Simpsons episode, where Lisa Simpson becomes a junkie for the Corey line, the hotline, where she calls
Yes.
the boy she has a crush on, and she's on the phone all the time. And I thought about that watching it this time, because when she's away with Wendy and her family, and it seems like she's like, okay, I feel bad about what I did to my mom. I'm going to go back and make it right. She still calls him. She still calls Richard from Wendy's place. It's like she can't stay away from it. She still
No.
has to like call him. She's still addicted to those phone conversations.
Yeah.
So, she's wily enough, that she can handle this kind of thing. But like when something like this, springs back on her, she's just not prepared. And that's what she's got to learn.
It's also funny. It's a very accurate depiction of young women. It's very Catherine Breillat-esque. And it's the idea of young women wanting sexual attention, women wanting sexual attention, and not being fully prepared for the annihilating force it unlocks, right?
Yeah.
Not being
And how
fully
could she?
prepared.
She has no idea.
How could anybody? I think that nobody can be fully prepared that this guy is the Candlelight Killer, kind of thing with it, that nobody can be prepared for unlocking that kind of like annihilating force. It was funny too, because I was talking with my friend about, I was remembering when I was in high school, we had a friend who was like 15 or 16 who was dating a college guy. And at the time you're like, that dude's so cool. How can I compete with that guy? And now that you're old, you're like, what a fucking loser being 19 and dating a 15-year-old. Like, what kind of fucking absolute fucking zilch must that guy have been? If you knew anybody in college who was dating a 15-year-old, you'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It'd be like the absolute least coolest person you knew. John Cribbs.
I knew a lot of guys
Scott
like that.
Pilgrim. Very cool movie. The new Donnie Darko.
Is Scott Pilgrim, does he date? I've never seen it.
He dates
looking like something I would fucking despise.
He's in college and he's dating a high school girl, and they're all like, what the hell is wrong with you? You suck.
Well, there you go.
He spits her up and chews her out,
I think it's a common experience for young women to court the attention, inappropriate attention, and not realize that it's bad, because you're too young, because you can't fucking know.
Well, think about how easy it is to attract a creep when you're that age.
Yeah.
It's so easy. And like a guy is like, I have a car, I have a phone, I can
At my age, it's getting so hard to attract creeps.
I know, it's tough. It's hard. I'm sorry. You used to be so cute, but now
I'm your eternal creep, Funderburg.
John Cribbs, the eternal creep. Because I'm a cute little boy.
They'll go,
also,
Yeah. The creeps will come out, They'll make it. They'll call you back. They're looking for lonely victims.
For sure. And it's also the kind of thing where this is just so many personal anecdotes. I remember I must have been in 7th grade. So I'm like 12, 11, whatever that age is. And I was getting ready to move from where we lived at the time, from Tennessee. And a friend of mine's mom, I had several, but I lived in a very rich part of Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. And all of my friends had really hot, like trophy wife moms. Right. And there was one of them, I was like, I'm just going to go to her and I'm going to tell her, like, I'm in love with you. And like, maybe we'll like hook up before we leave. As like a 12-year-old, right? Like maybe something, maybe there's something there. And you look back and it's like, that's absolutely insane. Like, how deranged does that have to be? But you don't know when you're a kid. You don't that gulf, that age and knowledge and experience gulf is so huge. I knew it was there, but you can't palpably feel it. And I think for women, it's very, very different from men. Because there's not regularly full-grown adult women attracted to men, and the way male and female sex drives work are so completely different. That's one thing about this movie that I think is really true and striking, is like part of becoming a woman is realizing you're going to attract the attention of creeps. This is what happens.
A kid, when I was that age, 7th, 8th grade, we would go camping with my family at a campground. And my friend and I would sneak out of our tent, and our plan was like, maybe we'll go to the river and there'll be like chicks quote unquote, and then we'll just like bang chicks because you're raised on.
It's
Of course,
crazy what you have
there's
plans
no women
like
there.
that. Yeah. You have a plan
We're
like
lucky.
that, and then it only happens like 2 or 3 times.
What's more likely to happen is a serial killer would kill me and my
Yes.
friend and rape us.
Exactly. That's the
When
that's
we
the
were all
bring
kids,
up.
we all hoped for a May December type situation, but we see what happened to that kid.
No, but that's exactly what you're saying, Will, though. It is very true. As you'd be like, let's sneak out to the woods. Maybe there'll be chicks there. And then you
Shit.
get to the clearing, and there's like a 40-year-old guy who's like, I got beers. You want some beers? And you're
There's
like,
not even that. There wasn't even
I
that.
don't
There's
know
just no
about
one.
this.
That guy wasn't even there for Will.
But you watch horribly stupid movies as a kid, and they'll like Once Bitten or whatever. They go to Hollywood, they meet girls or whatever. Or like you even watch like
Meatballs. It's just
Meatballs.
everybody's balls are falling out of everything in that movie.
Plus, you're a fucking nerd and you watch everything is from American Pie to Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah.
It's like, or even 16 Candles. Anthony Michael Hall ends up with the hot prom girl, the hot girl. And like date rapes her in his car, I guess, or something. But
they just made it seem that movie well enough.
They just made it seem like you're a nerd. Just go out there, you'll get it.
Yeah, just you don't know yourself.
And you don't know anything about
It'll happen to you by
dating.
accident. No effort is going to be needed on your part. It'll just happen.
Whereas the realistic one is The Last American Virgin, where like she's just going to go back to the guy after you help her get an abortion.
Yes.
Or your friends are going to be like, let's go to a prostitute. And you're like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. This is so depressing. This life and these women. I don't want to lose my virginity.
Well,
to a
that's
prostitute.
a coming. There, so like Lisa does have like a phone thriller thing, but there is a coming of age element too, of course, right? And so the other movie I was thinking of is Little Darlings. Is another movie.
Oh yeah,
about like
I knew we'd get to Kristen McNichol at some point.
Well,
well, I've been talking about Two Moon Junction all week, John.
She's pursuing Armand Assante in that movie, and she's pursuing Kevin Dillon or Matt Dillon. It's Tatum O'Neal who's pursuing Armand Assante, but that's a similar film about like a teenage girl thinking like, I want to grow up. All my friends are dating. Oh, all the girls in the camp they've lost their virginity, or so they say.
You know a line I love in Lisa's where she says, I might as well go around with the sign saying I'm a big loser. And she says, you can go around with the big sign saying your mom's a big loser.
Yes.
It's just like a sweet thing that a mother would say. I mean, their relationship is really great in this movie.
The relationship's really well drawn. You know,
so
it's
you
weird.
Really root for them, teaming up against the Candlelight Killer at the end of the film. That's a great climax.
But Little Darlings does have a kind of like everything's going to be okay gentleness to its insistent horniness. You know what I mean? That I think is a really big contrast to Lisa, which is really like, there's actually danger in the world. That's again why I think of Blue Velvet is this can be exciting and interesting to you. You know, their life's going to change, in 1 minute, but it's actually also there's real horribleness. And are you sure you want to wake that up?
Right.
Are you sure you want to let the Frank Boots and Candlelight Killers of the light world into your life? Are you sure that's what you really want?
The end of Little Darlings, Armand Assante rejects Tatum O'Neal and is like, you need to be with a young man. He's not a creep. He's sensitive. He likes poetry.
Yeah.
So they're like I said, Lisa's unique. It's an erotic thriller for teenage girls. I really dug. Yeah. I was crate digging, looking for something similar, and there is not something I couldn't find it.
You know what I think is most similar, and this came up on the Vice Squad episode, is Angel. Yeah. I think that's the most, it's another LA movie about a teenage girl who's navigating the line between, the real world and more straight and narrow path, and they've both got a kind of like earnestness to them.
Yes.
Both have a kind of sincerity to them that I think is and a kind of emphasis on the likability of their young women stars, of those characters and what they're going through in a like non-judgmental, non-chiding, non sort of like scare film way. These aren't like scared straight type movies
No,
at
Angel
all.
is a working prostitute in the movie. That's how she pays her rent,
Correct.
and she goes to high school. So it is
Yes.
not. It's not even like something like Fox is, which is a coming of age movie with Jodie Foster. It is an exploitation movie that can be enjoyed. That is,
Surprisingly good natured.
yeah,
Jesus, if I
surprising.
knew this was going to be the Jodie Foster podcast, I would have watched Carney before I came on here.
We were
Have you watched-
talking Five Corners. Is that
Yeah.
is that what you're calling it? The little
Yeah.
girl who lives down the lane, talking about coming of age stories.
But I think, you know what,
Extremely boring movie.
I
I
think
get
why
Carney and
we-
Rhodey mixed up. I'm sorry.
Road and Alan Rudolph again. Everything comes around. But I think Chris's, connection to Blue Velvet especially is interesting because both of those films use detective work specifically as like a
Yeah.
way to bridge, childhood and the adult world. Because when you play detective, it's fun, right? You're using your wits, you're investigating, you're finding things out the way that Lisa is when she's calling the DMV and everything. But what's at the end of the alley when you're playing detective is a dead body. Somebody is fucking
Yeah.
dead, or there's an ear in a field. Then you're really entering like, oh shit, just got real, and I'm in like the real scary, dangerous world now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then Blowout, or not Blowout, Dress to Kill, similar to Blue
Keith
Velvet.
Gordon, yeah.
But yeah, that shit gets real for Jeffrey and Blue Velvet very quickly. And he can no longer like
But nobody tries to knock him out with his own mother.
no, the ending of Lisa is really so it originally got an R rating, and Gary Sherman was able to knock it down to a PG-13. He appealed it and won. It really
My favorite
does go.
part of the whole movie when he's got the knife in the back and he staggers to the wall and it drives it deeper into his back.
Yes, he
Love
pushes
that
it.
moment.
What does he use to push the knife out?
I don't know. It's like a salt shaker. I can't even identify what that thing is.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah, and Catherine knocks him against the door. He gets stabbed again by the knife. He gets like pinned by the same knife like 3 or 4 times in the movie.
And
It's
he has a
interesting-
great like owie face, like this really hurts face.
And it's interesting. The mom is the one who kills him ultimately. She hits him with the baseball bat, knocks him out the window.
Swings away.
From Signs, yes.
But I love movies that end in catharsis. The two of them bloodied and holding each other and crying, in the aftermath. I also love movies that end with a dead character's voice. And this has both of them.
The shot
You
where
hear
he's
him
dead.
on the answering machine after he's plummeted to his death.
The thing I was thinking about the second time I watched it was you never see the mom's boyfriend ever again. There is no ending of
Yeah.
like, let me introduce you to my
It's-
boyfriend and
It's
sit
kind
down
of
and
an
have
ending,
dinner.
right? He's kind of walking away from her in their scene together, right? Where he's like, I'm kind of done with this.
Yeah. Oh, hold on 1 second, guys. 1 sec.
But we got to bring back the erotic thriller for teenage girls. Is that what Riverdale is? I don't even know. Is that
I
what
never watched it.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
No, Sabrina the Teenage Witch is just
Yeah.
what? It's like Bewitched, right? For kids.
But aren't they cult? I don't know. It's not like Blue. There has to be a Blue
They
Velvet.
love the
influence.
violent femmes. That's all I know.
Ugh. We
They're
need
witches.
to.
They're witches who want to have sex with the violent femmes. That's all I know about Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Are you serious? No one wants to have sex with a violent femmes.
Nobody does. Insane thing.
Oh. That's a pretty brutal band. What's like the ultimate like?
I stepped away for 2 seconds and I'm completely lost.
We're talking about bands that teenage girls would not like, but the writers of the movie obviously are into.
Phil Collins. She'd have a huge crush on Phil Collins.
Brian Eno.
No, teenage girls who, if they're aware of Brian Eno, are into Brian Eno.
They don't want to have sex with them.
Yeah, no, it was all George Michael was okay. David Bowie would have been better. I feel like every teenage girl I ever met who had any formulated idea
Just do
of
New Kids
sleeping
on
with
the
music-
Block.
That's true. In
Just-
KOTB.
They probably couldn't get the rights, or they were scared, or something.
Sherman should have gone all in. They should have had a crush on Bo Diddley from the beginning.
He certainly does. So, any other? We got to wrap this up. Do you have any other
We don't got to do shit. We can keep going for hours, Will.
recommendations?
Well, real
Anything
quick
else?
before we get totally off the cast, because this is such a stacked cast. Will, we were mentioning Liz Grayson, right, as the first victim. She would go on to become the female Highlander and A Conquest of Bill Clinton.
Yes, and she was in
Lofty Heights.
She was in like
She described his dick famously as weird looking.
but that's all dicks.
I don't know. I feel like I trust Liz Grayson on this one.
And then the redheaded woman he strangled that he sees at the gym. She's in Bad Lieutenant. She plays the nun
Ah,
No kidding.
who is
The,
raped in a church. I
the
always
little-
wonder about
The little brother who gets called a little dick face by Wendy
yeah.
is apparently the voice of the good guy doll from the Child's Play movies. Before he's Brad Dourif.
I'm your friend to the end.
Yeah.
But don't you
Funny
think it's
'cause we mentioned
weird
Catherine Hicks earlier.
in Bad Lieutenant to like?
But
isn't it
he's that kid is in a lot of stuff. That kid was all
Is that a
over the
famous
place.
kid? Okay. I
He's
believe
he was, if you watch TV in the 80s, he was just all over the fucking place.
But
Sorry
guys,
to interrupt.
Don't you think it's weird that Bad Lieutenant has this extremely violent rape scene shot in a church? And there's like so many. I always imagine like it would be like hard to get permission to shoot a scene like that, but it seems like in a church you can shoot anything. You could shoot people getting murdered, people
Well,
like
they got attendance problems. They need the funds incoming.
Okay, Chris. So this kid, I don't know what else he's in, but he's in Best of the Best 2 with Sasha Mitchell. There you go.
ooh,
Bingo, bango, bongo.
it's the only one I've seen.
I believe,
It's the
correct me
best
if I'm
one.
correct, he played
Chris
young
Penn?
Al Bundy. Correct me if I'm incorrect. Surely one of you
Can't
has
tell if
that
you're joking or not.
information at your fingertips. No, I'm serious. But I could be confusing him with the brother from the Wonder Years. Who knows? They've got a similar cherubic mien and
I think-
foul-mouthed screechiness.
Speaking of Al Bundy, wouldn't it be cool if there was like cruising for kids? You
What
know?
do you
Could
mean?
happen.
What the
Could
fuck
happen.
does that mean?
There's like an underground sex club and kids are getting killed, and I don't know. I'm just hashing things out. I'm
In real life or as a movie script? Because
A
I'm going to go on
movie
the record,
script.
that would be profoundly uncool in real life. And I want no part of it.
Can we sell this to Netflix and get $3 million?
Because cruising was a big hit. They're
Cruising
like,
Junior.
let's get some of that sweet cruising money here at
Friedkin never made a
Netflix.
kids movie. It's a fucking tragedy.
I'm just picturing like the Scott Baio Bugsy Malone fucking
Yeah, but with
movie.
cruising.
But with cruising.
Jodie Foster again.
Instead of guns, they shoot ice cream at each other. That would be horrific in the context of cruising. They were shooting each other with ice cream guns in this child sex party dungeon.
So there was in the 80s, there was a thing called the Soda Pop Club that like Corey's used to hang out. It's like a very
Yeah.
LA thing. It sounds like the absolute creepiest fucking thing that ever existed. It was New York Seltzer Soda. The owner
Yeah.
of that company, I believed he had a club for kids, and they would all
Jesus.
and child actors would hang out there and they would drink soda. LA is so creepy. They used to have nightclubs for children.
I know LA is the worst. You see footage, and that's actually one thing that I want to say. It's very nice about Stacey Keenan researching what happened to her
Yes. Oh yeah, we got to
after
talk
this
about
because she
this.
stopped acting. Where it's like, oh my God, is she just going to be another, you know, completely screwed up child star? But no, she went and became a lawyer. She passed the bar, and she's a college professor at UCLA now, some reasonably prestigious
She
university.
also was a prosecutor.
Yeah,
So
and
working
seems
on
like
doing the good stuff, not
And
defending.
she kept it up though. Every time she would meet a client, she would say, "Hi, guy."
I hope so. Can you imagine being put in
It
jail
certainly
from the daughter
insists
from
she say
Step by
that.
Step? Just being like the whole trial sitting
And
there
you're
and being
in
like,
step by step. You're
No,
like
you're-
another cast member. You like went drunk driving. You're the nerdy kid with the glasses.
but you'd just be sitting there being like, where do I fucking know this woman from? As your life is getting ready to get flushed down. This is driving me fucking great.
You're
'cause she
Sasha
prosecutes
Mitchell.
under a real exactly.
Who is this lady? I know her.
You're in the middle of getting
Anastasia Saragoski.
cross-examined, getting like shouted at by her cross-examination. You're suddenly like, "Oh, step by step, I got it. I finally got it."
Oh my God, my two dads. Is Paul Reiser one of the dads in My Two Dads? Did I make that
Yes.
up?
Yes, he
That
is.
makes perfect sense. I just put it all together.
It was a
I
crazy
believe it.
idea. A show with two dads.
I know.
That's how every
And
every
both
show
of
is
it, what
now.
was weirdest about it is that the other gimmick that they didn't promote as much. Did you guys see the show?
I
Ever?
watched it. I have no
Never.
memory of it because it was awful.
Both dads were so incredibly racist. That was the entire joke, is that they were just like two Archie Bunkers.
They were like really straight and they didn't have women. They were just
Exactly.
racist.
Super racist straight guys.
Wait,
My
it's not
two
a
dads.
Three's Company situation where they're both pretending to be gay dads together?
I honestly don't remember. I was 7 when it was on.
Three's Company, another show I couldn't stand as a kid. And
I just
'cause the
remember
premise-
its liberal use of the S word.
what? Slut? Shit? Suzanne?
Sassafras.
None of these are slurs. You got to keep going.
It's like, why wouldn't a guy live with two women? I don't understand. That's illegal. They wouldn't rent an apartment to a man, a straight
Not under
man.
Mr. Roper's roof, sir. Never.
Well, there used
What
to be
year is this? Like,
regulations about that. That's the same thing with bosom buddies. They can't live in
It
that
makes
apartment
no
building because it's
sense.
a women's only. I was thinking that was funny when I was watching Rear Window recently, is that he has the whole like, I got to check with my landlord if it's okay for Grace Kelly to sleep over. It's like, what fucking world did people have to live in where you're Jimmy Stewart and you can't fucking have Grace Kelly sleep over without fucking Norman Fell's permission? It's absolutely ludicrous.
The thing about Rear Window that was funny for me was I watched The Simpsons parody first, where he thought Flanders was a killer.
Yeah, of course.
And it turns out Flanders is not a killer. And then at the end of Rear Window, the guy was a killer. That really threw me off because I had seen
You were as thrown off as Wendell Corey. You were completely off the case.
I just thought I saw the parody first, so I didn't understand. I was like, whoa, he's actually the killer?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Are we going to talk a little about what Miss Tanya Fenmore is up to now, of what Wendy's doing?
Do you remember her in My
She's an
Stepmother
artist.
is an Alien or any of the other Twilight Zone movie? I don't remember her at all. I just remember the girl from Another World or whatever. Christine-
No, I
Well,
did
Allison
not.
Hannigan is the daughter. And,
Allison
Seth
Hannigan
Green, she goes on a date with Seth Green. This is years before they were back
That
together
movie-
on Buffy.
sucks. I used to watch that as a kid. It movie.
Wait, which movie sucks?
My Stepmother is an Alien.
Oh yeah, it's
Hello.
horrible.
That is the
Not so
opposite,
good.
Elisa. That is the, oh, I'm a single dad and this is my dumbass movie where I'm dating an alien and there's a talking robot. I saw that in the theater.
It's the worst Dan Aykroyd movie, which is really fucking saying something. Saying something
No,
prodigious.
no.
What's worse than My Stepmother is an
Loose
Alien?
Cannons is worse than My Stepmother's.
Loose
Or Bob
Cannon's
Clark.
Loose Cannon's a regular kind of terrible. My Stepmother's an
that's
Alien is a
pretty bad.
truly special type of
It's bad for kids.
Celtic Pride.
That's
Celtic Pride, written by Judd Apatow.
written by Colin Quinn.
Is it?
Yeah, he famously turned down Austin Powers because he wanted to make his own movie, Celtic Pride.
I think that Judd Apatow has something to do with it.
He probably rewrote it. But so what's this? Wendy is what's her name again? Tanya Fenmore. Yeah, so I found one of her music videos. I Googled her. I went to her website. She made a music video where she's dancing with the seven dwarfs, who are played by Chinese little people. It is the most bizarre LA crazy video.
And like weird multi-ethnic little people that gives it like a strange flavor. Like, do they understand what they're being asked to do? Has this been adequately explained to them? It's like, it's very bizarre.
They're just having fun.
It has
it's like humpy and horny.
Aesthetic qualities of like a porno film. So you're just waiting for it to turn into one, and it keeps lingering on the shot of like just one of the guys putting his hands like on her leg.
You know what?
It like 5 or 6 times, and it's just like I'm creeped out. I'm sorry.
It reminded
I watched it
me
10
of
times,
the,
and I was creeped out, but then I got into it.
You guys know the MC Hammer when he came back as the funky headhunter and did Pumps and a Bump?
Yeah, where his little penis is visible in his little
where he's getting
jockstrap.
a boner. Yeah, it has the aesthetic and feel of that video. Exactly what you're saying, Joe.
I went on her Instagram and she's bragging about how she twerks with little people in her video. She does like 12 posts about this music video, really desperately trying to go viral. And look, I get it. It's hard to get a video to go viral, okay? But then her Instagram she just stopped posting once it didn't take off. So it's like a frenzy of activity. Like, this is going to be big. I got to get people to watch my video, my song. And then it's like, yeah.
It made my wife very, very sad.
With 7 dwarfs. It's a super bummer, is how I would describe it. But she seems happy. She seems like a relentless positivist.
She looks good for,
being an obviously insane person, being the flip side of the Stacey Keenum spectrum of what we're talking about. Somebody pathetically trying to hold on to fame as they mentally disintegrate in the vast wasteland that is LA, that hollows out children and throws them in the trash after using them up in the soda pop club. Is that what you mean? She looks good for that?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry if you're listening to this episode, Tanya Fenmore.
I would love to hang out.
You are delightful, Lisa.
Awesome.
Delightful.
I think that video is cool.
Legitimately, she seems awesome. You think that video is cool? You don't have to do that just because you think there's a 50-50 shot she listens to this podcast, because she's name searching and looking for any mention
I'm
of
an
Lisa.
LA guy. I think it's cool when everybody, if you're out there trying, it's cool.
That's fair enough.
No judgment. No judgment.
I think I can appreciate the trying and the effort and the sheer Herculean effort required to undertake any creative act in a world that is actively hostile to it, in a place in Los Angeles which actively holds creativity in contempt. I appreciate all of that. That doesn't make the results cool or good.
Wow. Spoken like a true mean New Yorker. You guys got bad vibes.
We got the best vibes.
You come out to LA, we'll be your best friend. We promise. You'll be taken care of. We definitely won't.
Don't group me in with this. My take was, I don't know LA at all. I haven't been there in years.
You live in Poughkeepsie. You're sitting out of the sideline.
Exactly.
All Poughkeepsie people know is that one serial killer lived there and his house smelled so bad because he collected garbage that no one knew he was hiding bodies in it. That's all.
We literally produced Ed Wood. That's what we did here.
Poughkeepsie. You ever pick your feet in Poughkeepsie? French Connection. William Friedkin. Check it out.
World famous.
That's kind of his kids'
world
movie.
Famous
really.
Quotes and then saying what it's from. Run, Forrest Gump, 94. Check it out, guys.
Bobby Zemeckis can't go wrong. Bobby Z.
Recommendations: Night Angel, a great LA movie from the same year. Do you know that one?
LA movies are great.
I don't know Night Angel. It sounds like a million other movies. I'm sorry.
I
That's
know
why
it
this
has a
video
generic
thing is so
title.
hard because it's like, is this good? The poster, I don't know. All they do is lie to me with this in this horrible fucking industry.
It's a generic title, but it's a great film about an ancient she-demon who takes over the body of a model. It's almost kind of like the original Species in that way. It's directed by Dominique Althrin Girard, who
A
made
director of
Halloween
Halloween.
5.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch.
And Omen 4.
Well, I'm
Terrific
sold.
film.
The one with the little
Terrific
girl.
film.
The
There's a
little girls
girl
in
it.
4 and 5.
And Omen 4.
Omen 4. Yes.
Yeah, it's
yes.
an evil female Antichrist.
I said, call me. That's the one I discovered. That's all I got.
Call Me's good.
Great.
I've given you guys a million recommendations.
I'm
going
watch
with
Call Me tonight.
I'm going with Five Corners as my recommendation. Excellent Tim Robbins, John Turturro film. If you like early 90s Coen brothers, watch
that
Call
movie
Me
good?
first and then Five Corners. A penguin gets beaten to death in an act
Is Five
of
Corners
rage.
a comedy? It looks like a lame ass
It's
80s
like a
New York thing.
It's like a John Patrick Shanley type comedy where you're like, is this a comedy the entire time?
Ooh.
Am I watching a comedy? I guess.
It sounds very mid.
Oof. Ouch.
Damning it as a mid.
You're going to stand up for Tanya Fenmore's Twerking Seven Dwarfs video, but you're coming for Tony Bill. That's the LA I know.
I haven't seen it. Okay. I just know the cover. It looks like a Five Corners. Isn't this like a Moonstruck type thing? Like a dramedy?
No, I think you're right to identify it as like a like New Yorkers hanging out on the corner, having New York type stuff happening. Maybe that is a Moonstruck type thing. It's a little more serious than that. It's a little more violent and gross. Like it's got a sense of danger to it. I think it's actually is a reasonable pairing with Lisa. Although I brought it up as a joke, but now I'm sticking to it.
Chris, isn't the Pink Smoke? Aren't we obligated if it's a 1990 movie to
Holy
once again
shit!
mention?
Wait! I just looked up Five Corners. It is written by John Patrick Shanley. I had no idea when I made that joke about it. Sorry, guys, I'm shocked. I accurately described its tone so accurately, and that it was. And I'm going to go on the record. I'm not going to look it up. I'm willing to bet money that Judd Apatow wrote Celtic Pride as well. Okay, John, what were you going to say?
No, wasn't it Will who described it as moonlighting-esque?
Moonstruck-esque.
Moonstruck-esque.
Moonlighting is very LA.
Celtic Pride is written by Judd Apatow and Colin Quinn.
There
You're
you
both
go.
Right. You're both right.
Yeah.
I'll check out Five Corners. I've been meaning to watch it. Look, like I said, it has a Criterion Laserdisc, but no DVD, no Blu-ray. It has been forgotten by the Criterion Collection.
That's the
John
next
Turturro.
episode right there.
Oh,
Bring the movie back. Bring back Five Corners.
I say we don't.
that's a hell of a title because a square has 4 corners, but 5 corners.
You got to picture something crazy. Non-Euclidean geometry, as H.P. Lovecraft would say.
Sounds kind of tight now. It's like H.P.
I'm
Lovecraft.
I'm rereading the plot now that I've it pulled up, and I'm like, this is not a comedy at all.
He's a psychotic released from prison who pursues the woman he tried to rape. It sounds like a Vincent Gallo movie.
A Vincent Gallo style comedy.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's in it because, he's in Goodfellas and he's in the Rapture video. Vincent Gallo was around.
That's true.
He was in all 5 corners, Vincent Gallo.
Roger Ebert did not like Brown Bunny, but then did a 180. So we brought it all around. Don't listen to Roger Ebert. Listen to us.
On top of being a hack, he's also a sellout.
Yeah. And he's dead. I don't know if you heard that about Roger Ebert.
When I agree with his reviews, he's good.
Is he?
He satisfies my narcissism.
Most things satisfy my narcissism.
I'm like, Roger Ebert, you got it all. You're right.
You got it all figured out.
You know,
it
Silence
all
of the
figured out.
Lambs is a good movie. You're right.
Hot take.
Uh,
Hot take,
Sh-
Roger Ebert.
The Shining is good. God,
When you read it and you're like, you know what the third best movie of the year is? Primary Colors. I agree 100%.
Dark City is fucking awesome. Best movie of the year, baby.
That's still insane. And then he gave a 4-star review to Knowing right after it. He was just so on the Alex Proyas train. He's like, you know what? Dark City was so good. I'm giving 4 stars to Knowing of all fucking movies on top of it.
Wait, what did he give iRobot? He had to have had a position on
No
that
way.
in between.
Let's look it up. Let's look it up.
All right, we got to end
Maybe
it
he's
up.
disappointed. We're never ending this. I'm
Maybe he
never
said
letting this episode
The
end.
studio clearly took this one away from a true artist. That's what I'm guessing.
You know,
2 stars.
He was named
2
Harold Lloyd.
stars.
He was named Harold Lloyd, you know, like the silent film comedian.
He starts with Isaac Asimov's 3 rules of robotics or whatever. Fucking.
Oh God.
I told you he can't write a bad review. And it's not easy.
No, writing anything is a worthless endeavor.
You
Stop
try
it.
to win the Pulitzer for writing the iRobot review or even watching iRobot, a movie I haven't seen most Alex Proyas movies for good reason. They are
You don't want to. You want to have something to save for later in life, so you have a reason to keep on living.
Yeah, it's like
that's
my
the good
Berg- it's
reason
like
for not
Bergman.
watching.
I have so many Bergman movies to watch in Ozu.
If I
can just-
finally watch Knowing, I'm going to have to kill myself. There'll be nothing left to live for.
I really
just-
blew it when I watched every Tarkovsky movie in like a week. You know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I did it.
There's no more.
I did. That was
Yeah.
easy.
Ozu's a director I can definitely say, you know, it's fine that he's venerated, but you've seen one, you've seen them all, my friend.
That's true. That's what a cruel and dismissive thing to say. We don't care whose toes we step on at the Pink Smoke. Roger Ebert, Rear Window, Wendell Corey, Ozu. We're coming for them all. All the big dogs.
There's
you
no,
try and
but there's
stop
no
us.
critic even alive today who matters.
That is true. That is
Rotten
true.
Tomatoes has people will go like, I can't believe that movie was bad. It had a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you believe that shit?
Big Tomato approved of it.
The thing that I find most depressing is you see this on Twitter all the time. Critics who are so psyched that part of their review got used in like a DVD ad, and then it'll just be like a gripping thriller, like the most generic quote, and they're like, my quote got used for fucking the DVD release of Along Came a Spider. Look where I said a gripping thriller. It's like, you should hang it up. If you've ever been psyched to have your quote used in the movie for, you know, Hubie Halloween used my quote that says a hilarious comedy. Hang it up.
All right, calm down, Pauline Kael. Jesus Christ.
Hang it up.
Okay.
I feel like Pauline Kael would have loved
In
Hubie
LA
Halloween.
In LA, it's cool to get your quote in the movie.
I
Poster.
know. Again, LA
4 stars.
is a monument built to lameness.
I remember the Tank
It's
Girl
the
ad.
mecca for the wackest human beings in the world. They're all drawn to there. You got to get out of there, Will. You're better than them all.
We've combined art and industry to make something amazing.
To make a cultural juggernaut, which even I can't resist. You think I don't see that 4-star review of Hubie Halloween and Knowing and go, well, 98 on the tomato meter? That's a
I
pretty
remember-
fresh tomato.
Tank Girl had a 4-star review, and it was from 60-second preview. Something we could never figure out, and we just assumed it's like, do they just watch a 60-second preview of the movie and declare it to be 4 stars?
What was the one, you know, Sony got the class action lawsuit that they were using made up quotes that they lost, and you could get your class action refund. It was like $1.50 with some insanely small amount. But Sony got caught using made up quotes. Maybe it was 60-second preview, because I can't imagine anyone else was giving 4 stars to Tank Girl apart from Teenage Me.
Hey man, that's just Chinatown.
You know, when criticism peaked, it was when
Chinatown, Roman Polanski, 1974 or whatever.
You know, criticism peaked was when Paul Schrader got caught writing reviews of his own movies on Amazon. I think after that, it was all downhill. Where else can you go with it?
He's probably open about it. He put Card Counter #1 movie of the year.
He got caught. He got caught pretending to be somebody else on Amazon in the early days.
But that's what you do on Amazon. Those are all fake reviews.
I know. I know. Where do you think all the negative reviews on iTunes for The Pink Smoke come from? They're fake. We're bringing the negative press energy to it.
That's
They're
like-
all written by Johnny Cribbs.
You have negative reviews on iTunes? I'm curious.
Oh, you should read them. They're
Because you don't
quite
like,
delightful.
you will say something like, Alfred Hitchcock sucks or something. And then
Yeah.
people will like,
Well, imagine if you said
fly a
Bob
kamikaze
Dylan-
airplane.
Imagine if you said Bob Dylan sucks. What the response would be to that.
who cares?
Yeah, no, I don't.
He's extremely successful.
I know. That's
We don't
what, you
need
gotta
to-
defend him. It's like the city of LA. You don't got to defend it, Will. It's doing just fine without you defending
If
it.
I don't defend it, they'll kill me.
Masked and Anonymous is already venerated enough.
That's an idea for a movie. Is the guy who's just like a podcaster, like at our level, and Hollywood big shots are like, hear like a negative review and like, we're gonna murder you if you don't start giving good reviews of our movies. It becomes a tense thriller where you just got to toe the line on your podcast. It's like paparazzi is what I'm picturing.
Oh,
Like Paparazzi meets The Game.
Exactly.
like
Two
Citizen.
films of
Isn't that a part
equal
of Citizen
quality.
Kane? He
Is
was
it?
gonna like she got negative reviews and he like squashed it in his paper or something.
That's pretty similar to trying to cabal of shadowy Hollywood insiders wanting to murder a podcaster. We've basically written Citizen Kane here on this podcast. I'm proud of us, guys.
Old Christopher Mank Funderburg.
I want to remake Citizen Kane, but about a podcaster. I think it'd be fun to have my own podcast, but it's all LA.
As long as I can be the guy, play the guy who says he thinks it would be fun to be a podcaster.
They're
Will,
like,
you've
"We're-
got to put a stop to this episode. What's happening? We haven't talked about Lisa for 45 minutes now.
I
All right.
assumed it ended already.
the end. Everybody go watch Lisa. How many stars do you give it?
Lisa. We didn't mention Pauly Shore's Lisa at all. Made it all the way through.
We all agree it's 4 stars. 60-second
stars.
preview.
Better than Lisa Picard is famous. Is that what the movie's called?
Yes, the Griffin Dunn movie. It's definitely
Yeah.
better than that.
Ugh.
You know my Lisa Picard is famous story, right, John?
Never mind.
We cannot go into Griffin Dunn's. Is this a directing or producing filmography?
We were auditioning. It was like for a student film. We were auditioning people for a student film all morning, and then you went to work at St. Mark's Bookshop, and I had like a couple hours to kill until you were done working. We went out to lunch, and I got ripped wasted at lunch, like very, very drunk. I was like, I just need to go sit down somewhere for a couple hours. So I bought a ticket to Lisa Picard is Famous because it was showing right there at the Village East, the nearest theater to St. Mark's. And I went and sat down, and I'd been auditioning like 25-year-old ladies all day. And one of them came into the theater to see this fucking idiot college kid rip wasted, like asleep with like the binders in my hands, like "Ugh," as she came in. That must be the moment she quit acting. That must be a key moment in her life to be
I'm
like, "Fuck this."
auditioning for this guy. What am I doing with my life?
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
trying.
This is a low.
Well, Griffin Dunn, Dominique Dunn. I mean, look, in LA, everybody's famous, That's all I know.
That's true.
And that was Stacy Keenan, that actress. That's when she quit acting right there.
Good for her. Quit acting, get out of Hollywood, go to law school.
Isn't UCLA in Los Angeles? Am I making that up?
It is. You're right.
She's probably still there.
Chris, I love that you talked over me trying to get in a shout out to Cold Dog Soup again.
Too much cold dog soup talk these days, John.
There's never enough cold dog soup talk. It's still on the Criterion Channel, just in case you were wondering.
Oh, is it?
The only Alan Metter film you'll find on the Criterion Channel. Probably the only Randy Quaid, although maybe Last Picture Show's on there.
Yeah,
Possibly
Randy
Caddyshack
Quaid.
too.
He's also in Texasville.
True. They all came
So,
back for Texasville.
Paper
Whole
Moon.
gang.
Paper Moon, you know. R.I.P. Ryan O'Neal, great guy. Wish I could have worked with you, buddy. Love your work.
Everybody has good things to say about you. Are you sure Back to School isn't on the Criterion Channel?
All right, we have
Sure.
to end it. This is not.
You are in charge. It's your show. Do you want me to do an outro? This is what I'm saying. Take charge. We're sitting here waiting for you to say, well, guys, that was a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on and talking about Lisa. Did you have anything you want to promote while you're here? And we'd say, nah. Thanks for having us on. This is fan-fucking-tastic.
Here's the perfect sign off. Bye, guy.